Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. The session today is a follow-up from the webinar that we hosted last week. That was the How NBS Chorus has changed specification writing. We had a brilliant response and many of you submitted a question that we were planning to cover in the session. Unfortunately, we had a little bit too much content to get through and we ran out of time to answer them all. So the plan for today is to run through 15 of the most frequently asked questions by you. Before we get started, I'll just cover a few pieces of housekeeping. So the webinar will last around 30 to 35 minutes. Everyone who's on the call today has their microphone muted. This is just to ensure the smooth running of the webinar. You can ask questions throughout the session and we'll follow up these in the follow-up email after the webinar. Your speakers for today are myself, Kate Brown. I work in the marketing team here at NBS, and Dr. Stephen Hamil, who is Innovation Director at NBS. Okay, so we'll get started. So the first question, which was asked by lots of you, and you can see all of the companies who submitted a question around this subject on the slide there. So Stephen, how do I import an NBS building or NBS create specification into Chorus?
Yeah, so hi Kate, hi everybody. So yeah, let's just demonstrate this live. So for NBS create, this functionality is available now in the software. For NBS building, is functionality that's going through final testing. But on the screen here, you see NBS create, and we've got a specification with two systems in. So we've got a concrete foundation system and a timber frame system. And you can see the relationships between the system, in this case timber frame, with the products, the laminated timber underneath that. So what we're going to do is I'll just close this specification in create, and then we'll jump across to NBS Chorus and import this in. So here's NBS Chorus logged in. It's myself on the NBS license. I'm going to jump to this project, Newtown offices, and add a new specification. So I'll call it create specification. If I choose the content type UK Uniclass 2015, you get this option here. Do you want to import an NBS create file? And then it's a case of browsing to that create specification. So just going to jump across here now and find the specification, this one here. And when I click save, that uploads that to the Chorus environment, and it'll go through all of those create specification clauses, all of the links between the different clauses, identify all the NBS codes and convert them to Uniclass 2015, and pull that into the Chorus environment. It will take maybe 60 seconds or so, so we'll leave that so chugging away in the background. And I'm going to run an NBS building spec now at the same time. So here's, we'll stick this up, reinforced concrete, a specification with 3 sections. So your more traditional way of specifying, where you've got your common arrangement of work section and a big checklist of clauses there. And you'll see that I've modified things a little bit, crossed out the 105 clause and put an amended 105A and 105B. So what I'm going to do now again is just close this specification, come back to Chorus. This time I'm going to go to the location on our development server where this functionality is undergoing final testing for release like very early in the new year. And I come to add a specification just like I did last time, building specification. This time, instead of choosing Uniclass 2015 at the bottom here, I'm going to choose the cores work sections. And you'll see that in our test server, it's the same user experience now, where I can browse to a building or a landscape spec, browse to it, a demo webinar, it's this one here. And just like what you saw with NBS Create, that's going to now go through every single line of that database file and push it into the NBS Chorus structure. So again, that'll take whatever 1 to 2 minutes, and you've got a little refresh button here, or you receive an email when that's complete. So I'm just going to jump back to the create version first now and click refresh. And you see that it's changed from in progress to uploaded successfully. And there's our 2 systems, the the reinforced concrete foundation system and the timber frame system. And it's imported the specification successfully with all of the specification decisions in, and it's maintained the link with NBS. So you're getting the guidance and the standards. Everything's been converted to Uniclass 2015 from the old NBS Create codes, and the system to product to execution to system completion links have been maintained as well. And that's the same thing's true with the foundation systems as well here. So that's been in the software for a number of months, and I know it's been tried and tested hundreds of times. If I jump across to the test server now, let's see if that's already came in. Yeah, that one's came in as well. And what we're going to see here is an NBS building style spec inside of Chorus with your 3 work sections, E05, 10, and 11. And if I open up the E10, you can see that clause 105 has been parked off. And there's 2 versions of 105A and 105B. So if you're desperate to test this now with your real life project, get in touch. We've got, as I said, real life practices now testing it with real project specs. But we're trying to get it out to everybody as fast as possible. But we just want to make sure it's like robust and like properly tested before sort of pushing it out there. But it's looking pretty good. So let's jump back to the PowerPoint and pass back to Kate.
Brilliant, thanks Stephen. So the next question is, does Chorus work on an iPad for when doing site visits? And that's from Dan at Keegan's.
Yeah, it's a good question. This is something we wanted to get right from day one, because a criticism of NBS over the years is that it only works on a PC, on a Microsoft Windows operating system, and we wanted a platform which works like as long as you've got a 4G connection on any device. So right from the start, we've made the software responsive. Like by responsive, I mean like as the size of the screen changes, the different panels appear. So let's just pull this out a little bit here. When you're on a wide screen, you get the table of contents to the left, guidance to the right, and the editor in the middle. And as the screen size reduces, you see the table of contents hides away. You can always get it back. And then as it gets even smaller, it drops just down to the editor. So that means when you do access this on a tool like an iPad, let's just jump back across to the home page here. Let's put Google DevTools up. You've got a great experience. It looks like it's been designed almost like an app. So I can come now to a project, come into it, and then even down to the editor. It works nicely on a sort of small size screen. So I can come to this really large specification. There's all the different systems and products, and jump across to the panel called cubicle systems, and there's your specification. There's your table of contents. There's your guidance, your manufacturer information, and any notes. So a lot of hard work's gone in behind the scenes with our UX team and our software developers. But it's a platform now that works just as well on a PC, on a Mac, on a handheld device, which I guess is really important for architects and engineers that want to check specifications when they're on site, they're doing inspections, etc. Back to you, Kit.
Thanks. So next question, can you specify green building products that are less commercial? And that comes from Steve Burgess, White Architect.
Okay, we're doing a little bit of a deep dive into the technical content here, and I'm going to put a disclaimer that I'm more on the software side, but I'll give a go of answering the question. So we're looking at NBS Chorus, and we'll jump across back to that test project I set up. So yeah, when I come to add content, like yes, you've got the big commercial items in there, like sort of curtain walling and the big flat roofs and things, but we also have products that you'd maybe consider like more green or sort of specialist as well. So just a few examples. I did a bit of homework beforehand. For a search for straw bales, you see that we've got straw bale products and unframed and framed straw bale wall systems for insulation. We've got things like sheet wool insulation. Just pop up in a second. What else? Tire bales for things like retaining walls, or maybe even wall constructions. So tire bale retaining walls, tire bales, etc. Got wildflower systems and sort of bulb systems and seeding systems, thatch roofs, rammed earth. So the whole host of sort of your more sort of less commercial, what you class maybe as green construction methods. What I'd also ask people to maybe have a glance at if they get time. If you search for NBS sustainability on Google, we've got a really nice, what I'd class like a long read article, an accompanying a webinar. And it's a topic that's close to everyone's hearts at the moment. Like our technical team are architects, engineers who really sort of care about this topic. In this article here, it's in parallel with, in association with RIBA, and I think Gary Clark, he was called the chap that wrote the RIBA Sustainable Outcome Guides, and it just goes through all of the RIBA sustainable outcomes and gives examples of where you could specify them in NBS. So things like operational carbon, embodied carbon, water usage, sustainable water cycle, connectivity with transport network, sustainable land use, biodiversity, good health and well-being, sustainable community, social value, and then the whole sort of life cycle cost as well. So if you can get a roof to last for 40 years rather than 15 years, that has a big impact. Recycling things at the end. So when we talk about sustainability, yes, there's things like sheet wool and straw bales, but in terms of the wider sustainable outcomes, definitely recommend this article from my colleague Michelle in association with the RIBA Sustainable Outcomes Guide. Okay.
Okay, and next question. So can you get more manufacturer specifications into the system, please? And this comes from Shaney from Miller Architects and Neil from Baker Hicks.
Yeah, so this comes up quite a lot. Like when we do our customer satisfaction surveys and we say, how can we improve our content? One of the most frequently asked things is, can you get more manufacturer content in there? So if I do a reel, for those of you that are new to NBS Chorus, let's just demonstrate where the manufacturer content fits in. So you've got something like the ceiling system, and I come and specify ceiling units. At the point where you get down to the products, or maybe system manufacturers as well, you get the guidance and also manufacturer specifications from the leading manufacturers like Armstrong, or we've got here Knauf, Rockfon, etc. And very well appreciated part of the functionality. If you're finding you can't find the manufacturers you need here, please get in touch with the manufacturers, put them in touch with us. We do have a page on our website. So we go to the NBS.com. At the top here it says NBS for manufacturers. So if you do point manufacturers our way, send them this URL, drop a little email through to us, and we'll talk them through how to get into the system. It is a commercial offering for the manufacturer, but hopefully it's worth their while because they're getting their products in front of the decision makers, which are the specifiers in the country.
Brilliant. Question 5. How do you compile an outline specification? And that comes from Rebecca from NPS.
Okay, on this one, let me jump across again. I'd say we did a special session on this earlier in the year, because when we were looking at the RIBA plan of work and developing information through the timeline, there was a section with I think Dale Sinclair from ACOM, and then we had a chap called Patrick from HMM and Paul Swaddle from NBS. And I think it was a sort of a combination outline spec of the sort of content you get in the the first few sections of the prelims in terms of like whole project performance mixed with an overview of the systems. So I'm waffling a little bit here, but bear with me. So if I come and add a specification and I call it, say, general requirements, and instead of using the work sections, I'm going to come to the prelims library and I pick the early information rather than a specific building contract. There's content in here which would form part of an outline specification. For example, like the terminology that you use in your spec. If you use to say keep for recycling or keep for reuse, what does that actually mean? And there's this section here, whole project performance, where you can talk about sort of maybe less tangible requirements that aren't represented in the system. The sort of thing that you maybe write in a briefing spec or an outline spec, so comfort, performance requirements, design quality, durability, all the way down to things like overall acoustic strategy and fire strategy at a building level. And this combined with an overview of the system descriptions that you can export from NBS sort of forms that package, which is an outline spec for maybe the end of sort of stage 2 or sort of midway through stage 3. What I would say is this case study from AHMM here is the one that goes through the project timeline here. So talking about how they put together their like outline general requirements, which comes from that NBS prelims content with maybe a bit of bespoke content in there as well. And then you sort of export, which gives a like these are the systems. Here's a set of notes about each system, and is it part of the contractor design package or will it be full design? And the combination of those sections can form an outline spec. But hopefully there's a few good pointers of where to have a look for more information.
Okay, how can I format my specifications to match the look and feel of the other tender documentation? And that one comes from Ian from Smithers Purslow.
Okay, and I'll try and do this reasonably briefly, else I'll be talking for hours rather than 35 minutes. But where you can find information on how to do this and everything in the software is this help button at the top. So if you come to the top of Chorus, click help, and then read the support articles. This is a big topic. It's a topic that we know is important to designers because they want like their brand or their client's brand to be in the documentation that comes out. So have a look through these support articles here. That's where the sort of step-by-step guides in. What you can achieve. So let's come and just print this out. So publish specification. The first step on the wizard when you publish is, do you want PDF or a Word file? Would you like to compare it to any previous content that's gone out? In this case, it's the first time out. Do you want to put some metadata on a sort of summary sheet? So let's just pick one or two of these. You can type in anything you want in these fields, but they do align to the sort of information sharing standards on like suitability and revisions. It's this step where if you follow this, the help files in the support area there, you can upload your own style sheets. So instead of it just being the NBS default style sheet, I could come in and, like in this case, I think I showed this in the previous presentation, but here's a particular, one of our largest customers, Atkins, who styled up their own style sheets. And that's going to look like an Atkins document that sits there alongside the drawings from Atkins and the schedules from Atkins and any sort of reports, and has that sort of common sort of set of, it's like a tender pack or a sort of employees requirements or what have you. So you've got all that spec information, but it looks and feels like an Atkins document. Metadata on the front there, company logo, and there's whatever you want on the headers and footers, etc. So we've had some really good feedback on that so far. Please go away, read the help, do a little bit of a test spreadsheet, and hopefully get the documentation looking just like you want.
Okay, question 7. So Bill from AHR asks, how can I show revisions on my printouts.
Okay, well, this links quite nicely with the previous section where we showed that wizard, and it's the step that says, would you like to show what's been revised? So let's stick in the same spec here and show it. So to show revisions, obviously you've got to have made some changes. So let's come in, let's make a few changes here. So I will modify this clause and this clause. So just a few trivial changes there, and I'll also remove a clause from here and put a new clause in as well, new clause below. Okay, so some trivial changes there. I'm now going to go and publish this document, and the reader of the document, the client, the cost consultant, the contractor, wants to be able to quickly see what's changed between last time it came out of the office. So I come to publish it. PDF again. I'd now like to show the differences. Maybe this is revision 2 between the previous document that went out, and you'll see a whole history of every time it's been published there. Now, publication details, you're going to increment a little bit. If you make a little typo here, you can edit it so afterwards. And just for fun, I'll pick a completely different style sheet. We did some interesting ones here. This one's a really out there one, thermostats. And what you're going to see in the PDF this time is it's not just the information at that point in time, but it shows you the differences between that point in time and the previous publication. So I open this in PDF now, completely different style now. We've not got the Atkins logo on, and you can see that these are the 2 sections that were revised. And I can jump straight across now and see it was clause 23 and clause 5. And I think in the next section we added new clause and removed a clause as well. So yeah, hopefully that's something that a lot of users have been asking for throughout 2020, and we released that a few months ago, and again I think it's gone down reasonably well with those using Chorus right now.
Brilliant. Number 8, how do you specify the requirements for hold on, say that again. How do you specify the requirements for test certificates or O&M manuals? And this comes from Ian from ARC Partnerships.
Okay, this is an interesting one because it's a slightly different whether it's the common arrangement of work sections or the Uniclass 2015 content. So let's first of all have a look at the Uniclass 2015 content, and I'll add something that you maybe want to have lots of. So let's add a warm roof. Now the MEP content shows it off nicely as well, but let's just stick with warm roof. So in the Uniclass 2015 content, you don't have the big checklist of clauses, and you don't have to add lots of related sections for like fastener products and things like this. Everything you need in that system outline. So it goes description, system performance, checklist of all the products that you might want to specify, the workmanship, and at the bottom here, system completion is the collection of all of the requirements at the end of the job, sort of before occupation. So you can see the sort of thing. If this was like a heating system, it would be things like spares and demonstration videos, maybe maintenance manual or what have you. But yeah, at the bottom of every single system outline in the Uniclass 2015 content, you'll always get that system completion section. And you've already specified the quality of products and performance you want. Let's just make sure that it's been done properly. Like something like flooding, what the test should be, and what the duration. We actually have a little export feature that pushes these requirements into a common data environment as well, so we track through the construction stage. If this was the cause content, then you've sort of got to pick the sort of primary section that sort of describes the main materials in that system. And again, right at the bottom is the system completion clauses. So let's jump across to the, do I still have it? Yeah. So, is it J something? Okay, this may not be the right right section, but let's just give it a go. So J31 added in there. You've got the big checklist of clauses. You've got the scope, which tells you where else you might want to add things to, and then right at the bottom, you'll get clauses covering the tasks at the end. So any sort of system completion inspections and things. So yeah, these clauses have been authored. The guidance is there as well, and you tend to find them at the bottom of the sections.
So the next question was asked by a number of organisations, and that's how do you detail drawings from NBS to ensure all documentation is joined up?
Yeah, so our recommended method for doing this is by downloading our plugin for sort of like 3D modeling tool. So we have a plugin for Vectorworks, ArchiCAD, and Revit. So I'll demonstrate this in Revit here. So here's my sort of 3D model in Autodesk Revit that I'm using to generate drawings, generate schedules, maybe do some analysis and the likes. Here is our NBS Chorus plugin, which you can download from our website or the App Store. And this 3D model is linked to this specification. So you see the little icon here. It's actually linked to an architectural and services spec. And then it's possible to link the object types with the relevant clauses. And then that makes annotating the drawings a sort of easy task. It means that when you do your schedules, it's got the same annotations in. And it means that once something goes out of sync, you get a report on what has been linked and what hasn't. So just when that's loading up there, just go back to Chorus. So that's the lakeside specification. It's the same content in the same sort of like embedded web browser. So there's the little icon that shows that this architectural specs links. And if I jump across here, you can see the little icon showing which items in the specification have been linked with the model. So let's spin this round. If I click, let's stick on a flat roof or curved roof, do the flat roof. That's been linked to that particular clause. If I spin this round and click on this window has been linked to the specification of the window as well. Once you put those links in, doing these, it's just a case of using the multi-category tags in Revit. So you come in, annotate, set up your tags and just click them on the objects. So for example, this soap dispenser, click on the dispenser, find it in the spec. Here it is, little 3 dots on the right hand side, associate with model. If you watch what happens to the tag, it drops the classification and the title in there. I do the same for the wash basin. Click on the basin. What's interesting here is this has a type code because there's more than one wash basin assembly. So if I click associate with model here, it's not just going to say wash basin, it'll say wash basin type 005. And the parameters it drops into the Revit family can be seen there as well. And the big advantage of doing this live is if it changes over here. So I've made a mistake, and that's actually sanitary item 6. You get this come up in a little report. So it's telling me I've got an issue. There's a few things that aren't in sync, but in particular the wash basin, where it's 6 over here, it's 5 over there. And you can jump to it and find it, you can unlink it, or you click this button. And if you watch the 5 there, when I click link again, it just changes into the number 6. So when you do all of your drawing sheets, send out your spec, all of your drawings are annotated from the right item in the live specification.
And the next question links quite nicely. So what's next in terms of model integration? And that comes from Damien from GWP Architecture.
Oh, this one I think I'd like to throw it back and say, if you've got any ideas, where would you like to go next? So please, if you get a chance, drop me an email afterwards with a few ideas, put it into the chat here. But I guess the things that are sort of most developed in our thinking is help with the sort of specification assembly. So if I jump back across to Revit here, I can see the items that haven't been added yet. So here's my report of the things that I haven't yet specified. Where's it gone? Model. So maybe daft example here, but dining room. So at this point where it's not been specified, currently you've got to go and either find in your spec or browse for it in the NBS library and pull it across, etc. We'd like to have some helper menus here where you get the option of link with what's already in the spec, add from NBS, add from your Office Masters, and some bulk actions as well, like add everything that's been built. So I think there's more we can do in terms of automating spec assembly. When we talk about the information that was shared, so let's just find an example here. So this particular floor system in the boiler room. So we're sharing 4 parameters at the moment. I think we could extend it and maybe have another 4 or 5 things like manufacturer name, product reference, description, some of the sort of more generic properties which you don't want going out of sync between the model and the spec. And I think maybe thinking bigger, not just linkage with the model on the file system, but linking with the model that's in the common data environment or the asset management system. So Chorus and Source, the manufacturer side, can plug into many more applications. So I think we've done a good job for things like AutoCAD, Vectorworks, Revit on the design side. What can we do in terms of applications that have 3D models or even just data sets in the cloud? So I think we've got an exciting few years ahead of us on that one.
Next question, is there the ability to export to a keynote file from annotated drawings? And that comes from Tim and Andrew at Moxon Architects.
Okay, well, not yet, not yet, but I think this is something that we probably will do. So this was raised by 1 or 2 customers earlier in the year, and it went on our sort of like to-do list. But since we released our small works version, where a lot of users use Revit LT or AutoCAD, you can't put plugins in, it's came up more often. So I think we will move this to the top of, or not the top, I can't say that. We'll move it near the top of the to-do list. In terms of workarounds for now, should I demonstrate here? Let's do a real quick demonstration. So I'm going to create a specification using the course content. And we'll add, so just put Windows in for now. You can export to Word and then manipulate it like through Excel. It's a bit of a faff, it'll probably take 4 or 5 minutes, but you can come in and say, right, take the specification and publish it to a Microsoft Word file. And all of the data is like well structured in the Microsoft Word file. And you can then take that and manipulate it and turn it into a sort of keynote file that would work with EqualSim or AutoCAD or Revit LT or what have you. So if I look at the Word file that comes out, it's not just a dumb Word file. It uses the Microsoft Office sort of object model. So have a little look here. It's like each product is identified as a product, and this is the data that you want to use on your keynoting. I've heard 1 or 2 customers say that they maybe worked a bit with Word macros. So if you can't wait for it to actually fit into the software, to do that development, you can get this information sort of out there just by like using the power of Microsoft Word. I think I wrote a little bit of a macro here where it sort of zooms through the document and creates a sort of little report of what's in it. Might we've got a few little macros, we like just little helper files we might put online for the community to have a play around with. Yeah, sorry, I've waffled on a little bit there, but that's not in the software yet, but I think we'll get going on it soon. And at the moment, the workaround is to take it into Word and sort of manipulate the files a little bit.
Next question, how can I get a local copy of my masters or specifications? And that's from Richard from AHR.
And this one, it just export it out. So if you want, like, let's say I've got my Office Masters up here, and I want to have a copy, like major milestones at the end of every month. In the specification, you want to take sort of local records at that milestone, because you maybe need to keep it for 15 years. You've got an archiving strategy, which you'll have for your drawings and your other documents and your emails. Go to the publish it as a PDF, and that'll give you a local copy of the master, the spec, the prelims, or whatever it is.
How can I reuse specifications from previous projects? And this has come from Ewan from Doyne Smith and John from Cardiff Council.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's again just using the little 3-dot menu here. So I'm in my Office Masters at the moment, and this is maybe my standard prelims that I want to reuse on my next project and maintain. You click the 3 dots and you go copy to. And you can do copy to at the level of a section, level of a specification, or a system or a product if it's Uniclass 2015. And I say, what would you like to copy it to? So I think we're working in the Newtown office project. I just call it copied across, so it's obvious what it is. And that'll take the contents from a previous project or a master and pull it straight through into your like latest project. So there it is, copied across, and you see it sort of remembers where it came from. So if you were going to question, oh, where's this came from again? It's you click on this little button and it came from the Office Masters in this case. Back to you, Kate.
Okay, question 14. Is there a university version we can use for teaching? And this question's come from Claire from RCZM.
Okay, well, we don't have a sort of like packaged version, which is like, this is the university version. But what I would say is drop an email through, summarize what your needs are, and have a chat with one of our guys, and we'll see if we can sort of put together something that meets the requirements. So yeah, we don't have a sort of out the box, this is a university version, but talk to us, and hopefully there's something that could maybe be done.
And we're almost up on time, so this is the final question for today. Do you provide an affordable NBS for small scale projects and small practices? And this is come from Amaro from Cali Architecture and Design Ltd.
Yeah, so well, as I say, we've gone through 15 questions today, but keep asking questions and we'll get somebody to get back to you and answer them. So hopefully it's been useful listening to these 15 questions today, but keep that conversation there. And if you'd like anyone from NBS to do a sort of demonstration or a webinar, just drop the request in the questions box and we will get back to you. But on this specific one, I guess it's maybe similar to the what we raised earlier about the criticism of NBS was that it didn't work on a Mac. Another criticism of NBS is that it's only for the large architectural practice, the large engineering practice that works on the big projects. But earlier in the year, we did release a bespoke version of Chorus for smaller practices. So it's a cut down version of the content that's been put together from the minor works and the intermediate libraries. So if you want to find out more about this before I do a quick demonstration, go to the nbs.com and it's here, NBS Chorus Small Works, and you can find out all about it here, get a demonstration. And it's designed for like the sort of work that's covered under, say, like JCT minor works or NBS or concise, sorry, or IPA concise contract we do have a little case study online that's definitely worth watching. So if you go to resources case study, this one here from J. Foster Architects, London-based practice, doing things like house extensions, like loft extensions, high specification, quality, nice developments there. And I think it's London. And in this one, it just shows how using the simple content, and there's a few screenshots and a press play to sort of listen to his experience in his own words, but just demonstrating that here. The NBS SmallWorks customer, and we would use the cores content. We don't have a SmallWorks version of Unicast 2015. And when you create cores work sections, I just search for a brickwork here. I've got my filter to show the full libraries here, but if you subscribe to SmallWorks, you get just the SmallWorks content. So on the face of it, it looks the same, but the scope isn't as wide as you won't have things like living walls and green roofs and things like this. But if I look at the brickwork section in SmallWorks, each clause is just a little bit simpler. So you'd probably get 20, 25 specification properties for facing brickwork on main library. It's a sort of cut down version. And for things like a small practice doing specification for security system or heating system, it's to domestic standards. There's a bit of a brief for contractor design and things. But yeah, we do have a SmallWorks content out there now, and it's priced accordingly, not as expensive as the license for the full content, because you're not using as much content. And that comes in the Chorus 1 and the Chorus 2 versions, depending on the needs on functionality. So I think that might be the last question. Back to yourself, Kate.
Thank you, Stephen, and I hope everyone who's listened today has found that useful. If you do have any further questions, you can contact your account manager directly if you're an existing NBS customer, or if you're new to NBS, you can email us or give us a call with the numbers on the bottom of the slide, or visit our website, which is thenbs.com. And thank you very much again for joining. I'll send round a recording of today's session so you can listen again and share with your colleagues. Thank you.